that it was his favorite wife, and so I guess he treated her father with a good deal of respect also. He was an older man, and they thought that there wouldn't be a lot of trouble with him as a caliph. And the caliphate was basically instituted. It means successor, the successorship. You know, the companions of the prophet are very similar to what? In Christianity, the apostles of Jesus. In fact, I find it more useful to look at the apostles of Jesus more like the companions of the prophet in Islam. Studying Islam helped me an awful lot to understand early Christianity. Because seeing the disputes that occurred in early Islam, it throws better light. It made me understand what the James dispute was all about. The James group are more like the party of Ali, the family of the prophet. Whereas the Paul group are more like the companions of the prophet, though the other companions didn't like Paul. So it isn't a matter that it's not completely synonymous. But Paul is calling himself the apostle to the Gentiles and so on. And basically, you know, his approach does win out in Christianity as we know it. And he's opposed to the successorship of the family. The people claiming to be, most Christians don't even know that Jesus had a family that made claims. And there is a family, and they do make claims, and they did make claims in early Christianity. And James was the brother of Jesus, who did seem to succeed in the same way Ali groups want to succeed Muhammad. All of that made me understand Christianity better. It was my study of Islam that people say, how can you study Islam and then know anything about Christianity? Because studying Islam helped me understand Christianity. And studying the criticism of the Hadith literature helped me understand the criticism of the Gospels. So these things can really be helpful to you. Okay, fine, let's move along. So, Abu Bakr is caliph, but there's a group that doesn't think he should be caliph. Under Abu Bakr, the tribes in the Arabian Peninsula are brought back in. Nothing much happens during his reign except that. The Zayed, I think 626 maybe, Zayd was sent north to reconnoiter the situation. The Zayd expedition north is not being acted upon. First, Islam is being unified again under Abu Bakr. After that, however, the real power behind Abu Bakr, everyone thought, was Omar. Omar is a very rough, tough, highly respected person. He's not from the, he too is not from the Umayyad clan. He's from another important Quraysh clan. I forget what the name of it is. But he's caliph from 634 to, I think, not sure, 644, I'll say 640. He's really the man everyone says behind Abu Bakr. Abu Bakr was a figurehead. Omar was the power. Omar is described in early sources as a very rough, tribal sort of person, dressed in rough clothing, wore, you know, the Bedouin kind of woolen cloak and things like that. Did not do for fancy things. He didn't want Muslims to mix with conquered populations. He wanted to keep the purity of original Arab tribal life strong. He's an Arab chieftain, really, as much as an Islamic caliph. And it's under Omar that the conquering gets going. And things have been regulated under Abu Bakr. When Omar, the Shiites hate Omar. When I meet someone and they name Omar, I know they're not a Shiite. The Shiites will not use the name Omar to name one of their children. That's how deep these things go. So I know if I meet someone, Omar, somebody, he's never going to be a Shiite. That's it. It's like calling if you're, you know, in Europe, you're calling your son Hitler or something like that. You know, you're not, you know he's not going to be a Democrat family, and so on. A Republican isn't going to name his kid Roosevelt. You know? Yet a lot of Afro-Americans used to name anyway in the old days after presidents. Roosevelt was Roosevelt Greer and people like that. These were very popular names among Afro-Americans after Roosevelt, because Afro-Americans felt Roosevelt did a lot for them. Whether he did or not, I don't know, but that's what they felt. but you wouldn't get a Republican naming their kid Roosevelt. They hated Roosevelt, and that's about the size of it. And Bush is trying to undo everything Roosevelt did. I don't know if he's succeeding or he's right or wrong, but that's what he's up to. In any event, the conquering got going. And I'm not sure if I get the right, by the way, when Omar did get to Jerusalem, a Christian prelate saw him on the Temple Mount there. And if you know your Christian and Jewish scripture, you know there's a passage from Daniel about the abomination of the desolation. It comes from the book of Daniel. It's mentioned in the Gospels. The little apocalypses are attributed to Jesus. And it says something like, when you see the abomination of the desolation standing where it ought not to stand, take to the hills, Jesus says at one point supposedly. I don't think he ever said these things, but you know, he supposedly said that in the Gospels. How many are familiar with that passage in the Gospels? It's in the little apocalypse. I think it's in Matthew 24, 25, 26, and parallels in the other Gospels, the other synoptic Gospels. So one of these Christian prelates saw Omar on the temple ruined on where the Mosque of Omar is now. It's called the Mosque of Omar now. Where everything was in ruins since the Roman days. The Romans threw down the temple and everything. And he said, in truth, this is the abomination of the desolation, standing where it ought not to stand. Spoken of by Jesus when he saw Omar on the Temple Mount. I don't know if that's a true story, but it gives you the frightening impression Omar would have made among people who were not sympathetic to him. I find Omar a very attractive character myself. I find him more attractive than Ali personally. It's just my own taste. I don't find Ali a very attractive character, but others do find Ali. If you're a Shiite, Ali is a god almost. He's a saint, supernatural being. He's the Imam. And the Imam is a new concept Shiism brings in. We'll get to that. The armies go north. One army goes into Palestine, Syria area. One army is sent towards the Iraq area. This is in the late 30s. This has all been planned seemingly from the... Now, how come this happened? Well, because prior to this, the two big powers in this part of the world were the Byzantines and the Persians. And apparently the Byzantines and the Persians have been squabbling for hundreds of years. And at this time, they had just gotten done with a war. So, the Persians are over here, out this way, and the Byzantines are over here. The Byzantines are Christians, the Persians are Zoroastrian, and they've been fighting. And it turns out that the Persians had just taken Jerusalem